So today's practice idea is very simple, but very powerful. We're talking about practicing in front of a mirror. And so the theme of this week is mirror, and this is a very literal interpretation of that theme. And sometimes the best way to hear yourself differently is to actually see yourself from another perspective. And we're going to talk about why you should practice with a mirror, and then also how it's different to practicing by recording yourself and then watching the recording. And I'm also going to give you some options if you don't have a mirror in your practice room. How can you still practice with a mirror? And then finally, to end the video, there is a short relaxation exercise so you can stay and breathe and just get into a nice space for practicing, hopefully in front of the mirror today. Strike spark. Welcome to Practice Space. I'm Erica if you're new, and Practice Space is for all musicians with practical tips, creative advice, some philosophical chats. So if you'd like to follow along, there are videos Monday to Saturday. You can subscribe. And I also teach music online, so if you ever want to explore one of our topics in more depth, you can get in touch. I'll leave a link in the description below. So why should you practice with a mirror if you've never done it before? The first one is very obvious, it's posture awareness. And we often have lots of habits that we don't know about until we see them. And by practicing in front of a mirror, we can see in real time instantly these habits that maybe we did not realize we had. So maybe our teacher's been telling us this thing for ages and ages and ages, and it's not until we see ourselves doing it in front of the mirror that we actually understand what they're saying and we realize why we need to make this change to our technique. And so the next reason, this brings me onto technique, it's much easier to make technical adjustments when we can see what we're doing. So we can see in the mirror what we're doing, and we can see maybe some inefficiencies in our technique. We can see that our fingers are flying up way too high, and so we realize we need to make more efficient movements with our fingers on the instrument. And then the next reason that practicing in front of a mirror is really good is it gives you a different angle on your instrument. And so if you play an instrument like guitar or double bass or something where if to be able to see yourself playing, you have to look like this or you have to look like this. What happens is that gives you almost like a distorted perspective. And if you're playing something and you're trying to get your bow straight, the bow may look straight from that angle, but when you actually look in the mirror, you realize the bow is not straight. So the mirror is very powerful because it gives you a non-distorted look at your technique. And then the other thing that the mirror can really be helpful for is avoiding the kind of shock that you might have if you have given a performance and you've been videoed in your performance and then you watch the video back for the first time and see what you look like playing. So this can be a pretty rude shock for many people when they first see themselves performing on video. And maybe it's partly because you think, oh my God, do I really look like that? But also sometimes we actually notice a lot of these little habits and we think, wow, I really look tense here. How have I never noticed that before? What's my arm doing? Why is my leg rising up like that every time I reach for a high note? So by practicing in front of the mirror, we get comfortable with the idea of seeing ourselves play. And so it's less of a shock the first time we may see ourselves in a recorded performance. So if you've never practiced in front of a mirror before, today is the day to try. And what you will probably find is that it's not as easy as it seems. So when you first try and play in front of a mirror, everything is reversed and it feels a bit discombobulating to see your arm moving in the direction that you don't expect it to move. So you have to spend a little bit of time to get comfortable with that reversed image, the mirror image of yourself in the mirror. But once you are comfortable with it, then you can really start using the mirror as a very useful tool. And so the other reason that the mirror might be difficult is because you feel really self-conscious looking at yourself in the mirror. I remember a friend of mine telling me a story that she's a cellist and she used to practice in front of the mirror, and she would practice in the shoes that she was going to wear for the performance. And often they were like fancy shoes. And she would look at herself in her tracksuit and these formal shoes, and she would think she looked ridiculous. So she would get up and change into a more formal outfit. And then she would sit back down in front of the mirror and then look at her face, which had, she maybe had disheveled hair and was really tired. And she'd think, oh my God, I can't, now the face is not matching the rest of the outfit. And so she would get up and she would put some makeup on and brush her hair and then sit back down. And then she would feel comfortable playing in front of the mirror. So if you have to do that to feel comfortable playing in front of the mirror, then that is fine. But the other thing you can use the mirror for is a tool to just try and sit with the discomfort and make you feel more at ease with whoever you are, however you look on that particular day. So just trying to let go of this idea that we have to look perfect every day, and that we have to sound perfect every day. So the more we can let go of all of the perfections that invade our mind during music practice, the better and the more productive and the more happier we will feel practicing our instruments. So you may be wondering about the difference between practicing in front of a mirror and practicing by recording your practice and then watching it back, or even by watching a performance to give yourself feedback. So they're both very similar and they're both extremely useful tools, but they serve a slightly different purpose. So the mirror is best for instant real-time feedback. So you can see if you're having a problem with your sound and things are not sounding right or things are feeling tense, you look in the mirror and you can usually see exactly the problem. The bow's not straight, there's tension in your shoulders, there's tension in your face while you're trying to sing. And so you can correct that tension, and you can correct that tension, see visually that the tension has been released or the technique has been changed, and then hear what it does to the sound. So it's an instant feedback. And then if we think about recording lets you step back a little bit, and when you watch yourself in a recording, you don't get caught up by trying to play at the same time. What you really have to do is focus fully on the recording. So sometimes what you need to do is give yourself that distance. If you find that when you're practicing in the mirror, you're getting a bit caught up and you're actually kind of getting distracted from the mirror practice by just trying to play, and then your gaze is glazing over and you're no longer looking in the mirror to make those adjustments, then maybe this is the time to get the recording, record yourself, then watch it back so that you're not getting caught up trying to play the thing and trying to play the thing to get it better. You're actually watching and assessing and deciding what you then need to alter to try and improve the sound or make changes to the way that you're playing that piece of music. And so what if you don't have a mirror available to you in your practice room? Well, the first thing that you might want to do is go to a different room where there is a mirror. So perhaps in your bathroom, and you don't have to do your whole practice in the bathroom, but sometimes I tell my students who don't have a mirror, especially singing students, I tell them to go into the bathroom and just do a little bit of their singing in the bathroom where they can see themselves, because they really need that visual feedback, that instant feedback that you can't get any other way than by looking in a mirror. And if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable about going into the bathroom, then maybe you can grab a hand mirror. This is my other option, so a little small mirror. If you're singing, that's fine. You can hold the mirror up to your face. If you are playing a big instrument like the double bass back here, it might be hard to see all of you in a hand mirror. So this is where possibly you think about investing in another mirror, or you try one of my other options. So I actually practiced for a couple of years without a mirror while I was living overseas, and I had a number of different ways of coping with not having access to a big mirror while playing the double bass. And the first one was just relying mainly on recording, but recording short bits of my practice and then watching them back straight away. So not feeling like I had to record the whole session and then go back and review, because then often you find that maybe you've wasted a lot of time when you could have just instantly watched that thing and made an adjustment really quickly at the beginning of your practice, which would have saved you a lot of frustration for the rest of your practice session. And so the other thing I experimented with was using my tablet, which has quite a large screen, and downloading basically a mirror app that uses the selfie camera. And this was quite useful because the screen is big and you can set it so that you could see the whole of yourself. The screen is not huge like watching yourself in a big full-length mirror, but it can be enough just to get that sense of making those minute adjustments in real time. So if you've never practiced in front of the mirror before, today is the day to start, just to take 5 minutes out of your practice time and find a mirror. Either go to the bathroom or try one of the front-facing camera apps on your tablet, or you could try the short recording. So record yourself for 30 seconds, watch it straight away, make an adjustment, record yourself again, and then watch how that has changed. And if you haven't done any mirror practice for a while, well, this is your reminder to try a little bit more today. So if you found this video helpful, it would be great if you give the video a like, and you can share it with any friends who are practicing music. And then you can stick around for a very short relaxation exercise after this to get you in a nice calm space for your practice, hopefully to be at one with the you who ends up in front of the mirror today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. So let's just take a few moments now to prepare the body and the mind for practice. Make your space comfortable. Take out your instrument and any books or music you need for your practice. And then when you're ready, coming to a place of stillness, either sitting or standing, maybe with your instrument. Soft focus in the eyes. And then taking deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Then another inhale, and with the exhale, closing your eyes. We're going to scan through the body from top to bottom, just watching as any tension in the body releases, melts away. Starting at the top of the body, the head, the forehead, the point between the eyebrows, the cheekbones, the lips, tongue, the neck, all the tension releasing, melting away. The shoulders, the upper back, and the chest. The upper half of each arm, the lower half of each arm, the wrists, every muscle in the hands, and in each finger, down each joint all the way to the fingertips, relaxing, releasing. Diaphragm, the lower back, the area of the pelvis, the upper half of each leg, the knees, and the lower half of each leg. Every muscle releasing, relaxing. The ankles, the feet, and finally the toes. Every muscle in the body released, relaxed, at ease. And then just sitting for a moment, taking another few breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, blinking the eyes open, ready for practice.